somebody who's not in business hears this. And the first thing that they're going to say is like, see, there y'all go. Y'all are disrupting me and you're doing this and you're doing that. How do you like, and I can see their point. Like if you're not in business and you're not selling stuff and nobody wants to feel like they're being sold. Nobody wants to feel like they're being quote unquote manipulated or whatever. But the reality is everything that you see, everything that you touch, everything that's around you, there's a method to the madness, right? And I would venture to say that I would much rather have things that are directly correlated with my interest in front of me versus, like you mentioned, if I'm a basketball player, I don't want to have like sewing machine advertisements, in my face. So if it's something that I directly correlate with, that I have direct interest in, I can see the value of having that as a consumer. I mean, as a business person, I'm 100% like, yo, this makes sense. But as a consumer, how do you address the potential consumer understanding that some of these tactics are currently in play, right now in marketing?
Well, it's two things. The consumers need to read. I say, if you're going to download an app on your phone for free, and that app says this app comes with advertising, you're saying, I don't care. I want that app. You need to understand that you already said, I don't care. And you put your location-based services on, number one. Number two is, you have the app MyFitnessPal. Guess what? You're going to receive ads about sports drinks, tennis shoes, sports getaways, sports watches, all those type of things. You're going to see those ads because they correlate to you. So that's what's going to happen. In any mobile ad environment, the user, the consumer, all they have to do is just turn off the location-based service.
What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, with another episode of Black Fathers Now. Now, dig this, man. We're going to have a really awesome conversation with a brother, man. He's spanned the globe. He's done things in all kind of industries. He's done a little bit of this, done a little bit of that. He's done it well. And this brother is none other than my man, Walter Moore. So Walter is a 20-year Air Force veteran. He's traveled the world. He's been all over the place. The brother is a father. He played basketball overseas, but he's also into this thing now called geofencing, which is like this marketing concept that I didn't know a whole heck of a lot about until, being introduced to him. But he's into that. And one of the things we're going to talk about is Walter has a lifetime of experience, but he's not set in his ways. He's still open to innovation. And I think that's something that Black fathers need to be mindful of as we get, more senior in our in our life. We don't get stuck in our ways and we stay open to innovation. And staying open to innovation, in essence, is kind of the basis for our conversation today. So brothers in the Black Fathers Now family, let's welcome my man, Walter Moore. What's up, brother?
Hey, man. How you doing, man? I'm doing great. Great. Thanks for the fantastic introduction, like you always do. It's good. It's good hearing you again, man. You're looking good.
Yeah, you too, man.
That was good. That was good talk about, the experience and stuff I had, but because those experiences kind of mold you into what you are today. And sometimes it's just absolutely surprising.
It's
where you come from, a little kid in North Carolina, growing up, in the born in the late 50s, but growing up in the 60s with all the turmoil and, assassinations and all that and protests. It's kind of seemed like everything has come back around. Because I'm like living this for like the second or third time of what's going on in today's society like that. But it all kind of molds you because you're one way, you have a focus. I just had this one focus of I need to do this, I'll do that. And I'm just glad, where I am today. And this is a father's program. And the fact that I am a father, it's really enlightened me to some of the challenges and blessings it actually has. Lots of challenges and blessing. It's kind of more the apple doesn't. I just recently realized the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, based on what I'm into now versus the offspring.
And it's interesting, man, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but I think that's super important for us to become healthy and fruitful trees, right? And when I say fruitful trees, that doesn't mean that you got to have a whole gang of kids and all of that. Being healthy and being fruitful means that you are a tree that's solid, that's healthy, and whatever you produce is something that's of value to somebody else. And when that fruit drops to the ground and the seeds come out, that then potentially sprouts another tree, which if you were healthy and you were doing the right thing and you were fruitful, there's a high likelihood that the fruit that you drop and the seeds inside that fruit are also healthy and can sprout and do the same thing. And then, it's amazing how small things like that, like a small focus like that, can turn into creating a forest full of healthy trees for generations to come. So hold on, before we jump into it though, the first step in the Black Fathers Now process in the interviews is we always like to give shout outs, because who are we without our village? And so before we jump into your story, my man, I want you to give a shout out to the folks that have paved the way for you, or folks that allow you to be the man that you are today.
I want to give a shout out to every single father figure that I've had in my particular life. And being a sports guy, it comes from all the coaches, all the mentors, all the great men in sports that I've looked up to and seen how they do things. And that without question is giving me the discipline to do what I need to do to be the person I am today. And obviously a great decision was going to the military. Because you think there's little small things about, discipline and things like that and basic training. Like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to fold this sock no wider than 2 inches and this other thing no wider than 6 inches? Because it's all discipline. You're not gonna have to do it when you get out of basic training, but it shows you're a part of a team. You're disciplined. You got to do what you got to do. You got to get out of that bed, make sure the bed, you can drop a quart off on it, shower, and be downstairs dressed and in formation. You got 12 minutes.
Wow.
So you have to do that, but you carry that discipline the whole way, because what discipline means is someone can count on you. And if you're talking about a Black Fathers Now deal, the whole deal is, can your kid count on you? They need to know that. They need to know that. And you also need to know that we're talking about apples and trees. It's like who you are really is going to resonate to the person you bring up. So you have to understand that if you're not a father yet, you need to really, and you don't know if you're like on the right track, you kind of need to get there and change your mindset, because that kid is going to be molded into what you are. And we'll probably talk about it later, but that's what I found about my daughter. I realized that what I have is totally rubbed off on her, so she's basically like a mini-me. And on a better version of that. So we need to understand that our genes actually very transferable, excuse me. And you're transferring these genes, that's what you're raising. It's what is that seed.
Fellas, literally, I hope you paid attention to what Brother Walter just said, man. His daughter has become a mini-me of him. And good, bad, or ugly, that's the reality of our children in a lot of instances. Right? They become mini-me's of who we are. Daughters and our sons become mini-me's of who we are. So the question then becomes, who are we? Right? If you notice, like whenever I start off an interview with Black Fathers Now, I always start off with, I'm Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You. Right? And Double Down on You is my personal development protocol in which it helps individuals understand who they are. Right? Understand the importance of developing the courage and the confidence to double down on who you authentically are. Embrace your greatness while pursuing your interests, recognizing your faults and failures, yet guarding yourself against your personal triggers. Greatness, interest, faults and failures, triggers, GIFT. It's about unwrapping your gift. Because if we all as fathers, as men, as Black men, unwrap that gift that's inside of us, understand who we are, and become the best version of ourselves, when our offspring come, or with the analogy we used earlier, when that fruit falls off of our tree and the seed comes out and gets planted in the ground, there's a higher likelihood that that's going to be a fruitful tree that develops or sprouts from that seed. because we were healthy, we were whole, and we fully knew who we were. This is about us, fellas.
You're exactly right, because you've heard the saying, "I'm taking care of me," but in this instance, you really need to take care of yourself, because you have to be right. You have to be in the right mindset to actually know everything that is needed to raise that kid correctly. You have to have yourself correct financially or morally, the right goals. You got to think about, as a parent, what do I want? Everyone wants their kid to have a better life. So what life did I have? What life do I want them to have? And what is it going to take for them to be able to achieve that? So you want to remove the roadblocks. There are going to be roadblocks that you're going to fight. You don't want yourself to be a roadblock. That's the whole key. If you can't be a roadblock in front of the roadblock, because it's enough already navigating that particular forest for your kids. So you need to make sure you clear it out. You clear the runway for them to go out and just start doing things, and be right there to assist and advise, and make sure you tell them.
You said something there that was powerful. We as fathers, we as Black fathers, we as men don't need to be the roadblock in front of the roadblocks. Because if you think about it, life's going to throw a whole lot of roadblocks in our path, right? And it's interesting. I was actually talking to a really good buddy of mine not long ago, and it was the concept of, the helicopter parent versus the free range parent. Right. We were talking about it from the standpoint of this, part of the challenge of raising kids in this day and age is the fact that we become helicopter parents, meaning we try to keep them from scratching the elbow and falling and bumping this and having issues. We're trying to basically insulate them from challenges and circumstances. And sometimes we do them a disservice by being a helicopter parent, because we then don't allow our kids to learn how to work through challenges. We also don't give them the ability to work through or analyze or account for risk, because everything that we do is a padded environment. So they're never going to get hurt, or they're never going to have to, burn themselves or get hurt or whatnot. And so that's kind of like the helicopter parent conundrum, so to speak. But then on the flip side, you got like this free range parenting thing where it's like, let the kids do what they want to do, which, if we're really honest about it, how we kind of grew up, I'm 40. It was kind of the free range parenting thing. You come, you're supposed to be home by the street lights. Mama, you don't have no cell phones on you. So mama didn't necessarily know everywhere you were, but she just knew that by 7:00, you better be pulling up in the driveway on your bike. You know what I'm saying? But you had the ability to analyze risk, and you knew, I can't cross the street here. I can't do this there. I can't, I don't need to touch this person, or I know this is a bully over here. I don't need to talk too much to that one, because we might end up having a fight on the way home, or, whatever it is. We try to insulate our kids from that. But some of that is what helps us to then be able to navigate those roadblocks that you're talking about when that you're gonna face in life. But the biggest issue as dads is for us to not be that roadblock in front of the roadblock. Does that make sense, man?
It makes absolute sense. And another thing you need to do is, when you talk to your kid and find out what their initiatives are, educate yourself on what that initiative entails. In other words, you can't say, Dad, I want to go to Stanford, or Dad, I want to be this. And you're like, I ain't going to do that. I don't like that stuff. No, you're not going to be able to do it. But you know what? You can't give constructive criticism or guidance if you don't know anything about it. What are the benefits of their path? What are the detriments to their particular path? So that way you can actually sit down and have an intelligent conversation with your kid and have them respect you. It's all about the kid respecting you and leaning on you for stuff. So like, if you're saying stuff against them because you didn't believe in it, or you don't like it, that's not the right answer. Or because you love it, but you can't talk to them about it. Just educate yourself on it. We got the internet now.
Man, I'm going to tell you, you dropped something there, and fellas, do not overlook what he just dropped. Educate yourself on the things your kid is interested in. Educate yourself on the things that your kid is interested in. Because again, some of us we're self-ascribed or self-described old school, meaning like, this is how I'm doing it. I'm doing it this way, and that's it. But Walter dropped a bar, and I hope you caught onto it. Educate yourself on the things your kids are interested in. for one, it helps you to understand that, maybe this is good, maybe this is not, but I don't know until I'm educated. And we tend to fear what we don't understand. And if you don't understand something, you probably need to learn more about it, i.e. get educated on it. And I'll tell you, we're going to jump into something in a second, but that is something that really comes into play in Walter's life because, we mentioned that he's a father. He has a daughter who is doing some really amazing things in media and all of that. And he and I, before we got started, were talking about, her trajectory and some of the cool things she's doing and all. And it was interesting because I pointed out the fact that, I'm 40 and, Walter's a few years my elder, right? He's a few years my senior, right?
Few years. Decade or so.
Decade or so, right? And I was marveling at the fact that a brother that's a little bit older than me can be open to some of the ideas that she was putting out there. And part of that, I think, goes back to this whole concept of educating yourself on what your kids are interested in. And the impetus or the inspiration to do so. And I think that's such a fascinating fact that we have to adopt as we become more senior in our life, staying innovative, staying connected to the young folks, but educating ourselves on what's going on. Walter, where did that come from for you, brother?
Oh man, it's just all back to discipline. I mean, there's no other way to go around it. Just discipline and just stay in the course. And and again, it's going to be inside you. So I would say it came from my parents. So he went that way. And giving it to Matt's daughter, I was speaking with her and, what are you doing? What do you like to do? Well, she says, you know what? I want to have, she's a lot like you, actually. I want to have a company where we're selling merchandise. We can make a difference. We can actually talk to people who want to make a difference. And she said, you know what? You in media, she said, and my goal is to be like a little mini Oprah. I want to have my whole entertainment thing and all that. And how can you help me with that? So the fact that I'm in audience and technology and advertising, things like that, the apple doesn't fall from the tree is perfect in this case because she's in the same exact realm of being able to see out of the box. Me being able to have a chameleon, which goes back, that's where it came from, being in sports. You're playing basketball, football, baseball. I had to adapt from growing up playing in an all-black Little League baseball league. Every team was black, every coach, everything right there. And then when they tore our neighborhood down because they were expanding North Carolina A&T, because our neighborhood was basically on their campus, they moved the whole entire neighborhood to an area where it was mixed, right? So when I'm playing baseball and football, I'm playing on a mixed team. So I had to completely adjust my thinking about what I've heard about people of a different race, about how things are done. I had to actually completely change my outlook. And then it all came to fruition we had what we call a city tournament in baseball. So I'm playing, I was a starting pitcher. I was basically an All-American pitcher in baseball. But I'm playing against the Black League that I came from, their all-star team within the tournament. So I'm looking up in the stands and I'm seeing all the parents of all the guys
your former teammates.
I'm the only brother on my team. Like, what's going on here, man? And of course, we won. We killed them, shut them out. They couldn't get a hit. And that was actually a bad experience because I broke this one guy's nose. Wow. Friend of mine, because he leaned over the plate. The thing with him, his name is Fred Whitfield. He's Michael Jordan's right-hand man.
Oh, wow.
And so I actually want to introduce those two. He's still mad at me to this day, man. It's been, we were 12, bro.
Hold on. Stop. You said you introduced him to Michael Jordan?
Yeah, Michael Jordan's obviously younger than me.
Yeah.
And we had I was playing basketball back on the East Coast, and Michael was in high school, and Fred was playing at Campbell College. And Fred was going to have a camp. I said, Fred, you got to see if you can get this guy, Mike Jordan, man, on there. This dude can play. And he reached out, and I said, here you go. We were playing pickup one day. Mike was my height. He was only 5'10" at the time.
Okay. So
I said, you got to go to that camp. They went. Fred let him stay off campus, doing the basketball camp. Next thing you know, Mike made him, when he went to the Wizards, he made him legal counsel. Fred had a law degree. And he made him Nike's international rep. And now he's following around. Fred is the president of the arena that the Hornets playing. So,
wow.
I mean, Mike is very, very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got a friend, can't even be on Facebook. Yeah, social media.
Wow.
Yeah, introduce it, but I can't foster that relationship. The only possibility I can do is Fred's brother, Charles. He started Hidden Beach Records. I don't know if you ever heard of.
I've never heard of Hidden Beach Records.
Jill Scott and all those people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Michael gave him the money, so I could talk to Charles.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Try to get word to Fred.
But it's hard to get. It's funny. You set the groundwork, or laid the groundwork for this thing that blossomed, but now you can't even get to.
All because I broke his nose. If he hadn't stand over the plate.
Wow. That's amazing. How breaking a brother's nose got him to connect with Michael Jordan. Now he's running the Charlotte Hornets arena.
I know, man.
Wow. It's amazing.
But yeah, the discipline, you have in sports of being in adaptive situations. You have to be tough. You're a pitcher. You can't get rattled. In basketball, you have to free throw and everybody jump up and down. You got to make the shots. So being able to tune everything out and focus is really, really a major reason to have your kid in sports, because it helps you focus. It helps you deal with victory and defeat and the camaraderie. So that's why a lot of the stuff that I have that made me, it came from that.
Just because it's really interesting because you mentioned the concept of going from the all black to the mixed environment, when your neighborhood was expanding, and being able to kind of navigate and be this chameleon, so to speak, right?
Yes.
So this thing started early on. It's like it's funny, in the beginning you were forced into innovation. Like you were forced into it. It's like I ain't had no choice. Like I could have stayed with the homeboys and stayed in the hood and did my thing. I probably wouldn't have, but I was forced into innovating, meaning I was forced into an environment I wasn't comfortable, and I had to learn something different. And it was funny. You said something a minute ago and said you had to adjust your thinking about what you heard. And what's interesting about that is you had to adjust your thinking about what you heard. And you then started basing your thinking about what you learned and what you experienced. And so, fellas, pay attention, because what he mentioned about the things that your kids are interested in, you need to learn that. You need to educate yourself on that. Don't go off of what your contemporaries are saying. Oh, they on this TikTok thing and it's these cell phones are the devil. Oh, this social media, you're going off of what people say. You're going off of what you've heard. How about you have some experiences and educate yourself to learn that, yes, it might be bad, but it might not be so bad. Base that off of your own experience and your own learning. Focus on that, fellas. That's powerful.
It is. And what I've told you before is always keep your eyes, focus on what you're doing, but make sure you keep your eyes open for change, innovation, and adjustment. Because, in the business sense, and the story, I went from, after I was out of the military intelligence, which was, extremely disciplined there, you go from print to graphic to digital signage to Wi-Fi to mobile. And you go past mobile to you go and it's at custom audience. So you have to keep changing and things like that to, James, to make sure you're in tune to what's actually going on. And that helps with the kids, because you can raise kids one way, like, we were all raised with a belt or a switch or whatever like that. Well, you still need to discipline your kids. You can't do that anymore.
And that's, we've actually talked about that before. And that's a challenge. I did an episode in which I really talked about a challenge that I had. This was few years ago, actually about 2 years ago now, but my little girl had got out of line or whatever, and I pinched her arm, and she went to bed that night. And before she went to bed, she was talking about, oh, my arm hurts, Daddy, you pinched me. And then I was just like, well, baby, I love you and this and that. And, it's because you were getting out of line and you were being mean to your brother, whatever. And, but I love you. And then she said, well, I guess love hurts sometimes. Man, that thing tore me up. Right. Yeah. It tore me up and I left the room. I was about in tears, and I was telling my wife, I was like, I don't know what to say to that, because I never want my kids, my daughter or my son, growing up thinking that love is supposed to be physically painful. Love is supposed to hurt them. Now, granted, you need to be disciplined, right? But the flip side of that is I don't want them with that mindset of associating love with physical pain, meaning you should, because some people, again, some can utilize that take it and that's okay, I know not to do this. Others might take it and depending on their mindset, they could associate love with, I need to go find somebody who's going to make me hurt because then I know they love me. Right. And it's not just from a parental perspective, but for some people, again, not everyone, that translates into romantic relationships. So that translates into their friendships or translates into, other scenarios. And that was one of the things that really convicted me on the concept of discipline. And again, we discipline our kids. And, at times we're still okay with a little popping for correction, but we're definitely not into spanking and corporal punishment and the hardcore things because first off, if the only reason my kids or our kids respect us is because of some type of corporal punishment, then we're probably not doing a great job of laying a groundwork or a foundation, in our opinion. Again, it's no knock because some people are 100% behind the belt and the this and the that. And I'm not knocking that, obviously, if you're doing it legally and all that stuff. But the reality is you have to find what works for you. But for us, we're like, how can we find ways to discipline where that's not the only tool in our tool belt?
Yeah, because it's like, adjusting as a father to what's going on now, because you can say, okay, this kid is going to act right because they think it's going to hurt or be painful, or this kid's going to do the right thing because they feel it's the right thing. That's the whole thing. And so what path they're going to take, like, oh my God, I'm a murderer. I want to shoot this guy, but if I shoot him, I'm going to prison. Or I'm not going to shoot this guy because it'd be wrong because he's going to be dead. He's got people to love him. He's going to be upset, blah, blah, blah. So what is the actual right thing? That's what needs to be in your kid's mindset. And now you have... I want to stop right there
because it's interesting you say that, like the whole concept of choice, right?
Yeah.
And I think again, our kids have to be taught and we have to create an environment for them to grow and we have to model things for them. But then the other part to it is you do get to a point in which everything hinges on choice, right? And so are you not doing the wrong thing simply because you're going to get in trouble? Or are you not doing the wrong thing because, that's the wrong thing? It's just like that whole concept of your ethics and instilling that in your kids. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about with the tree, the fruit falling from the tree. If your kid sees, it could be simple things. Like if your kid sees you, trying to cheat on your taxes, or your kid sees you trying not to report this income and trying to do that, they grow up with this notion of, well, yes, daddy ain't killing nobody, but daddy does find a way to, skim this off the top and slide this in this account and do this and offshore and do that over there so that he can, kind of quote unquote get over. And I think that's the integrity part of the piece that I think we have to be very mindful of that aren't necessarily on the surface. And honestly, let's be 100. A lot of us give brothers passes on those types of activities because they like, oh man, you ain't killing nobody, dog. You're just trying to make it. You're just trying to make it, man. You just, hey, pay me in cash, dog. Pay me in cash. So I ain't, just slide it in this account over here. Come on, man.
And that's that's for them, but it's not going back to the seed. It's not showing the kid the right way. Start off in today's society, get the kid a pet early because you can say, don't throw a rock at the pet because they sit around. This is why you don't want to hurt animals, blah, blah, all this type of stuff. Get them a pet. They have someone to love and care for. And so they're going outside. They get to know how it is to interact with other people, even though it's an animal. You have them on, play days so they can interact with other kids. Those are the types of things you do, but also the resources we have today, like parenting.com, all those things. They can actually help a parent.
Black fathers now. Black fathers now, too.
Oh, okay. You got that.
Yeah. Black fathers now. Yeah.
The stories you have on there, what they need to know.
I know there are other things out there, man. I was just being funny, but yeah.
No, I didn't even realize. Black fathers now. That's my bad for not even knowing that.
Oh, you good, man.
Yeah. But go to Black Fathers Now and find out what you need to do as a parent. Whether the kids and Black Fathers Now for you is obviously, I'm sure you're creating content from experts on the mindsets of young girls, young guys, all different ages of what's going on, the dangers, what's good for them, what jobs are going to be hiring in the next 10 to 15 years or 5 years. That way you can sit down with your kid and say, hey, from a financial standpoint, do you have any interest in this type of thing? Now, don't make every kid play the piano.
Absolutely.
They don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or don't send them to do yoga and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But try the best to get them in yoga or to sports. They choose one, like Doug Mapp, my man, he played football in college and his son is in gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
He's not happy about it, but he's in sports.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing.
But the thing is, though, and I think this is the whole concept of really finding where your kids have proclivities and gifts. And if there's a fire burning, pour a little gasoline on that fire, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And back to what Walter mentioned, the concept of educate yourself in the things your kid's interested in. If you do that, regardless of whether you agree with it, whether you like it or not, if you do that, you might find an opportunity. You know, it's interesting. I interviewed a brother a few episodes back named William Avery. And William was a lottery draft pick with the NBA, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, played at Duke, All-American, all of this stuff, right? And he now does a lot of basketball camps and things like that for youth. And he primarily focuses on the girl basketball or women's basketball, but he does stuff for all youth or whatnot in regards to basketball. And so I asked him, I was like, you know, he grew up as, you know, the number one point guard in the nation, this and that, like highly ranked coming out of high school. But a lot of the kids that he works with aren't necessarily that talented. They aren't necessarily the top ranked this or the top ranked that. But a lot of parents push their kids in regards to sports, even though the kids might not have a career in sports. And so I asked him, like, what are your thoughts on that? And one of the things he stated was, don't knock your interest in sports. Just realize your value proposition might not be that as an athlete on the court. There's a whole ecosystem surrounding that thing that you have interest in. So you might not be a basketball player or coach, but you might be doing sales and marketing. You might be doing contracts. Or like you mentioned, the brother who you hooked up with, Michael Jordan, back in the day, you might be running an arena somewhere. You could be doing merch. You know, you could do data analytics. I mean, there's so much associated with it, but the discipline that you learn by playing sports at an early age, or like you mentioned, getting a pet, the discipline you learn by having to take care of something that's not just yourself, that discipline that you learned in the military that was instilled in you from, you know, your parents, that discipline carries you a long way. But the reality is we also have to have some of these exposures so that we can see where we gravitate to. And once we find that as parents, it's not about making our kids something. It's about finding what's in our kids and finding unique ways to pull that out. Yeah.
And I also think that when you're helping mold your kid's career, whether it be business or whatever the interests are, it helps prevent or it helps mitigate the issue of the separation that teenagers have that need to go hang out with their friends and all that and kind of leave the parents behind. And the parents get upset about that. So, like, you can become their teammate. That's what I'm doing with my daughter right now. Like, I'm molding and helping her. We talk an hour twice a week on what's going on now. How can we navigate this? What do you think about this idea?
And how old is your daughter?
24.
24. See, and it's so amazing because as parents, we start off being like, look, we're telling you what to do, showing you what to do, but eventually we do morph into advisors and teammates because when they're grown, there ain't nothing we can do. Like, you can't force your daughter to do anything anymore. Right. So now you're basically part of her board of advisors, you know.
Exactly.
Y'all go through ideas and she'll throw some stuff and you like, that's crap. And then she might throw some stuff and you like, that's crap. And, you know, you just, but you go back and forth and you banter, but it's more so as a consultant, an advisor or a teammate versus that hardcore parent, because eventually they grow out of that.
Yeah. Keep your kid there because you'll find out soon your kids aren't teenagers yet, but they have that little group, they have that little window where they're going to be like, going off with their friends. But if you're working on some type of project towards some common goal together throughout the whole journey, then you're going to keep them attached. I mean, the simplest way to see it is in, you know, you got these mega businessmen and they're trying to groom their son to take over the business from the time they're a little kid. But obviously in the ugly sport of AAU basketball or football or whatever, the parents always involved, so they're keeping the kids close because the parents are taking them around, you know, following around. The ones that think, you know, my son's got it, you know, he's going to be my meal ticket, as LeBron's mom said back then. So that way you can stay involved with the kid. But if you just let them go through their thing, which you need to, but have one point of common where you have a common goal together where you're helping them achieve
I like that.
whatever they've actually decided to do. And then if they want to change and pivot, you're there to help them change and pivot because you have a discussion on if they should pivot or not, if they change interest.
The common goal thing is so important, dude. Like I wrote that down because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you can even because again, your kids are going to be who they're supposed to be, whoever God has created them to be, they're going to grow into that, you know, at some point in life. Right. But if you all together can find some common goals to work on together, that brings that level of attachment in some capacity that you can hold on to as this kid blossoms into who they are. But and I think, and it's funny, I think with our kids, but I'm learning that like with my wife, you know, finding things like what's some common project that we can work on together. We might not do everything together, but we can find this one common thing that's like, you know, let's work on this together. And that allows us to blossom in our relationship in a way that is totally, you know, different from other aspects of our lives because we're both working together to create or build or do something with a common goal. That's a fascinating concept, fellas. I hope y'all paid attention to that bar that my man Walter just dropped because that's some good stuff, man. Work on a common goal, and that keeps you attached.
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple. I mean, if they like certain fashion, hey, let's go online. Let me see why you like this fashion. Let's go do this. Or if you like a certain musical artist, you know, hey, when are they in concert? Or there's some videos of his concert. Let's do it together and all that. And if you have any interest in doing that, say you're interested in that. So maybe let's go together to some classes, or what's classes, whatever, fashion school, those type of things. But at the meantime, you're still, because you're connected with them, you can kind of mold them or direct them towards something that's going to be a vocation where they're going to be happy at and it's going to make them fruitful when they're ready to either get out of college or get a job or whatever. But obviously let them make their choices. But like I said, keep educating yourself on whatever it is they say so you can speak intelligently on it all the time.
And I'll tell you what's powerful about that. You know, you mentioned the concept of being fruitful, educating yourself, and over time. And speaking of that, I think that's a really cool transition into, you know, your professional journey. Again, 20 years in the Air Force, you played basketball overseas, you know, you did your thing and you came back and you got into marketing. And you mentioned earlier about going from print to internet to digital, mobile, and then like doing this positional marketing thing with geofencing. You know, talk to us. And this also leads to goes back to the notion of you continuously educated yourself on what's going on now and staying abreast of how things are changing and being nimble enough to change with it. You're currently into geofencing, right?
Right.
Talk to the brothers a little bit about what geofencing is, what it is you do, how it works. And I see, you know, if you're watching the video of this and not just the audio, you see like Ribbon Consulting. That's like your consulting company or whatnot, and what you do that. But talk to us a little bit about geofencing, how you came into that, but and then how the brothers can learn more about geofencing and Ribbon and yourself and all of that good stuff, man.
Absolutely. So the name of the company is Ribbon because Ribbon is we tie the loop between location-based services. And location-based services is basically trying to find whoever your perfect customer is when they're located near your location or specific location. Is not your storefront or your website, or if they're online shopping is something where you need them to be, or wherever they are. So that's location-based marketing is what we actually do. And it's comprised of geofencing, which is, to put it simplistic, hey, I want to grab every mobile phone that walks into the French Quarter, right? And then you have geo audience. I want to grab the mobile phone of everyone that went to the French Quarter, but they also travel a lot and they like Cajun food. And I want to go to geo-conquesting, and the other part is called geo-conquesting. Geo-conquesting is if I'm in the San Antonio Riverwalk, and I want to grab those people that went to the French Quarter and have them come to the San Antonio Riverwalk. And then the other location-based services, like if someone comes near the French Quarter, I don't care who they are, I just want to send them an advertisement, that type thing. So that's what you actually, those are the four components of audience technology. So what we do is we know people that spend $50,000 a month on gambling, people that go to the doctor 4 times a week or go to the gym 12 times a month. So we have all this data by following mobile devices every place they go.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a business, online or offline, in other words, you have a brick and mortar store, or if you're just e-commerce, we have the technology to send your perfect customer to you because we're reaching them on their mobile device, and we're making your advertisement to them something that they will resonate with because it's your customer. I'm a basketball player. I want to receive an ad from Nike. I don't want to receive an ad from Singer sewing machines. In other words, don't waste your ad spend, period. You know, you want to have that ad spend make sense and be the most profitable. You need to hit your custom audience, what we do. And that's what we do. Go ahead.
So basically what you're saying is, so like if you're a business, so the brothers that are entrepreneurs that are selling products and or services, whether you have a physical location or you're doing something completely digital, with this geofencing or the location-based services or the what do you call it, audience management? What did you call the term of it again?
It's geo audience, it's audience technology.
Oh yeah, geo audience or audience technology. You basically, your company gives individuals in business the ability to directly pinpoint that customer through their mobile device based off of location-based services. That's fascinating. So like, for instance, if I'm selling a product, or let's just say, I mean, again, we're not having concerts and stuff going on, but let's just say there's a concert going on at the, you know, in New Orleans in like you mentioned, the French Quarter. There's a concert going on in the French Quarter, and I have a product or service that would directly correlate with the typical concert goer this in the French Quarter right now. I can have a targeted message sent to the mobile devices of those specific concert goers in the French Quarter that are coming out of this concert, and it could potentially lead to the product or service that I am providing that would be completely of interest to them, correct?
Exactly. The Convention and Business Bureau will want those people, a certain alcohol beverage, travel companies. If you have a business that's in the French Quarter, mm-hmm. or if you're at a company, if you're a brand or whatever that says, okay, this concert's for 25 to 35-year-old black men, right? That's my audience. My T-shirts resonate with those people. I'm going to send those people advertisements about my T-shirt and drive them when they open the ad to my website. But not only are they seeing your ad, once they touch it, the second phase comes up. Where do you want them to go? So you can send them, have them call you, go to your website, tell them that you're 2 miles away from your store. Here's a map to get to our store, anything you want to do. So that's the beauty of that. There's so many different people that want that.
And I want to throw something, because, you know, somebody who's not in business hears this. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that they're going to say is like, see, there y'all go. Y'all are disrupting me, and you're doing this and you're doing that. How do you like, and I can see their point. Like, if you're not in business and you're not selling stuff, and nobody wants to feel like they're being sold. Nobody wants to feel like they're being quote unquote manipulated or whatever. But the reality is, everything that you see, everything that you touch, everything that's around you, there's a method to the madness, right? And I would venture to say that I would much rather have things that are directly correlated with my interest in front of me versus, like you mentioned, if I'm a basketball player, I don't want to have like sewing machine advertisements, you know, in my face. So if it's something that I directly correlate with, that I have direct interest in, I can see the value of having that as a consumer. I mean, as a business person, I'm 100% like, yo, this makes sense. But as a consumer, how do you address the potential consumer understanding that some of these tactics are currently in play, you know, right now in marketing?
Well, it's two things. The consumers need to read. I say, if you're going to download an app on your phone for free, and that app says this app comes with advertising, you're saying, I don't care. I want that app. You need to understand that you already said, I don't care. And you put your location-based services on, number one. Number two is, you have the app MyFitnessPal. Guess what? You're going to receive ads about sports drinks, tennis shoes, sports getaways, sports watches, all those type of things. You're going to see those ads because they correlate to you. So that's what's going to happen. And any mobile ad environment, the user, the consumer, can all they have to do is just turn off the location-based service. Simply turn it off.
So if you don't want that type, if you're a consumer and you don't want to get ads or you don't want things, all you gotta do is turn off your location-based services. That's one. But on the flip side, you know, if you're a person who would much rather, if somebody's going to market to you, market things that are specifically that are relevant to you, then you know that's what this. That's right. You love it because that's what this service provides, and it makes life easier for you in regards to consuming the things that you want to or need to consume.
And it's in line. Like, you don't want to have what we call banner blindness, where you just see so many ads, it's like you're reading through ads. There's another ad, you just go past it. If you're an advertiser, you want to make have a really good call to action where someone's going to notice. It could be a color, it could be moving around. I have one I'll send to you did for Calvin Klein, where it's a bunch of Calvin Klein bottles dancing in the screen. I mean, there's so many different things you can do to incentivize them to do it. And again, the ad creative has to match the audience that you're sending it to. So it's going to resonate. If I'm sending something for someone for Medicare, I'm not sending an ad with a whole bunch of motion and videos.
No, not at all.
It's just a regular old school ad. Hey, Medicare, you want it? Call me up. You know, that's it. They're not going to go past that.
Because you're speaking to that specific demographic.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, dude, that part is so doggone fascinating. Like, if brothers that are in business, I mean, sisters too, because I mean, everybody listens to this. If they're interested in connecting with you to talk more about, you know, the geofencing and, you know, location-based services and how to incorporate this into their business to drive sales, to drive marketing, to get more share of voice with their messaging, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, for them to go online and get more information? What's the best way? What's the contact information, my man?
Contact information is email Walt, which is W-A-L-T, at ribbonconsulting.net. Is email address. The website is ribbonconsulting.net. And from the website, you can schedule an appointment. You can see some of the products and services, because I actually, every week I get as a certified partner for all these different technologies. So we're always adding them. And we have a different new product that just came on board Friday. I haven't told you about, but it's awesome. So yeah, that's the best way to do it. Those two particular ways. Just shoot me an email. We'll schedule some time to sit down and talk. It's a 30-minute get to know you. It's a 1 hour if it's in depth.
Awesome. So Walt at ribbonconsulting.net, and you can just visit ribbonconsulting.net. Now, are you active on social media as well, or is that the best way to connect with you?
Well, yeah, obviously I have LinkedIn. You can just look up Walter Moore on LinkedIn, and there's going to be a few of them in there, so they may not know which one. On Twitter, it is called Audience Loyalty.
Audience Loyalty. Gotcha. I'm going to have all of that in the show notes, fellas, for you to be able to connect with Walter. So definitely Walt at ribbonconsulting.net. Visit ribbonconsulting.net. If you're on LinkedIn, search Walter Moore. Look for the brother with the bald head. Okay. He'll be there with Walter Moore on LinkedIn. And then on Twitter, Audience Loyalty on Twitter. And make sure to connect with him, man, especially if you're in business. If you have a product or service, if you're selling anything, if you're a consultant, if you're anything across the board, this geofencing thing is legit. And it legitimately connects the dots utilizing mobile location-based data to your direct audience. It gets directly to your targeted audience. And he has the ability to be a sniper that does that. So if you're in business, literally ribbonconsulting.net. Hit the links that are going to be in this here show note, in the show notes of this here episode, and reach out to Walter Moore and let him know you heard about him on Black Fathers Now. My brother, I got, before we get going, because I know you got a hard stop in a second, how has your experience come back to impact you as a Black father?
Oh my God, it's fantastic. I mean, all the experiences that I had actually molded me to shape me on what I'm doing and how I'm actually not acting as a father, but how I'm actually progressing in that way. Because we progress every week, we get better because the kids keep changing. So you have to keep changing. So it's the experiences that I've had have helped totally.
Man,
really is.
dude,
And you can't just say I'm there. You got to
Mhm.
realize there's still more road to walk.
I like that. I think that's the first time anybody said the fact that it's allowed them to progress as a father, because they're continuously moving and evolving, and I'm along for the ride. So that's fascinating, man. Dude, I appreciate you for coming on Black Fathers Now and sharing your story, your journey, these nuggets of wisdom. And fellas, I hope you probably have to listen to this one again, because he dropped gem after gem after gem. But Walt, man, I really want to thank you for spending time with us today, and we wish you the best in everything that you have going on. Fellas, make sure to visit ribbonconsulting.net. I'll have Walter's information in the show notes, and make sure you let him know that you heard about him on Black Fathers Now. And going forward, man, make sure to subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to podcasts, YouTube. Share this thing out. Connect with Walt with ribbonconsulting.net. He's got you covered when it comes to getting to your target audience. And, until next time, fellas, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always, always, always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.